Oh, the sun came up. You saw it. You can't lie. You can't lie. Everyone knows it came up. And here we are. And I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. It's Tuesday. Hello, everyone. We're taking live calls today. To join the live calls, you need to arm yourself with a bunch of horrible videos. No, you need to go to Patreon. You're joining for free. You go to Patreon. You'll see right there the top post is this stream. And in the description, you will see the Zoom link. And you can click on that Zoom link and you can come in and we'll take your call. If you got something to say, call in. If you disagree with something I've said, even better, call in. If you have a manifesto that you'd like to read, if it's under, 100 words, we could probably do that. A lot of you guys write your manifestos way too long, like way too long. You really, really, really write those manifestos like, guys, this is the age of tweeting, okay? Your manifesto needs to be short and sweet, okay? First you got your doctrine, then your anti-doctrine, then your premise, then your summary. And this is really all you need. This is the only things you need to pull off a good manifesto, right? So everyone take out their papers. The Pop Manifesto quiz coming at you right now. Take them out. Each of you have 3 minutes to write a manifesto. Put it in the chat. Let me know. Or if you want to give a verbal manifesto, you'll have to call in. You'll have to call in. Welcome to James True. It is Tuesday. Max Headroom is channeling in the house. And a lot's going on. Let me see if I can get the right thing going here. Yeah, man, there's a lot, guys. There's a lot. First, I want to suggest to you the possibility that CIA just took out Mexico. I don't see anyone else covering this angle, which quite frankly is why I'm not very popular. I have weird esoteric ideas. And let's start in this town right here, this little red dot. This red dot's caused a lot of trouble. People cannot see the shadow caused by this giant space object. This red space object is no. This is where this took place. This little red dot is the city of Europan. Yeah. And this man is Carlos Manzo Rodriguez. And he was mayor. And on the Day of the Dead festival, he was executed in the town square while they were actually celebrating the Day of the Dead, the festival itself. And this triggers the creation of the United States of Mexico. And in fact, it sort of brings down the end of the cartels. You could not pick a worse time. If you're in the cartel and you're like this mayor, and this mayor has a long history of talking shit to the cartels. It's a long history. So I'm not trying to paint this as this is completely out of the blue. This is really, really well planned psyopery, ladies and gentlemen. Something that you would expect from the CIA, to be honest with you. The other day, I discussed to you that I find it hard to believe that after 56 people were executed because they were on a fishing boat, that you would see a parade of fishing boats rushing out to the United States aircraft carriers and their ships and their flotillas, singing praises. I've suggested to you that this would be what you do if you wanted to paint the picture that everyone is for this idea and that invading a foreign country is really not that big of a deal. And you guys need to chill the fuck out because no big deal. Everyone wants this. And this is a great psyopatry. In my mind, it speaks more to the CIA than anything else. America is a mental institution. And that mental institution is easily invaded through propaganda. And that the propaganda of everything that America does, expressing our military power on other sovereign nations, is only because those guys are bad, they're having a hard time, and that they would welcome what we do to them. And this is what a rapist tells himself, herself. I'm not trying to... Girls, ladies, you can rape too. It's fine. And that this is what a psychopath tells himself. This is probably what a cannibal tells himself. A cannibal's probably like, look, this guy is not having a good day. You could tell he's not having a good day. So I ate him. I was looking out for the guy. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to eat you. And I asked him, I was like, hey, if you don't want me to eat, just say something. And then all he said is what? And that's not no. What am I, living in a land where I have to get consent every time I want to eat somebody? She was drunk. He was drunk. It was marinating in wine. So yeah, I think the CIA has a lot more to do with this. First of all, I'll remind you that the U.S. military has never actually won a war, and that the CIA has never lost a war. And if you're going to take down all these countries at the same time, you're going to want to do this. You're going to want to start a anti-cartel revolt inside of your country. And if you were a cartel, the very, very, very last thing that you would ever want to do right now, when Trump already has all of those machinery, all that guns in the Caribbean, and now you're gonna take out a mayor. This is suicide. And the only good suicide would be a CIA suicide. But that sounds wrong. The only thing that makes sense to me is that this is a strategic plan brought to you by experts in the field. And those experts, they fucking belong to us. We give them a lot of tax money. We praise them in movies. And then we have people like Sean Penn. They're just like, I'm brooding. And, and that's part of it. You're going to get that. But seriously, it's hard for me to imagine that this thing could really be anything else but that. The Day of the Dead, my friends, this is ringing a bell through Mexico. And the CIA struck that bell, and all they had to do was shoot this guy in the head. In a lot of ways, this is just Mexico's Charlie Kirk. It is this rise of fascism in the culture that just wants the violence to stop. I want it to stop. And if you pull this off of the Day of the Dead at just the right time, and you have all the news coverage for it, and then you just throw a few riots, it's going to work. And it's not hard to throw a riot. It's not hard. You see how easy it is in America. It's very easy to throw a riot. It would be easy in Mexico too. And the footage that I've seen of the Mexican riots it's some of the laziest rioting I've seen. There's one in the consulate where this guy, he's just like, I guess I'll take this end table and throw it at the window. And then, of course, the window has a frame. And then he's just like, oh, well, it just bounced off the frame. And then his partner opens the door for him, and then he throws it, and he still misses. He still hits the window. Meanwhile, outside this church, these carabiners, I'm going to call them carabiners. Is that okay? Because they're like, they don't care. They're just like, we will revolt because the cartels are bad and they're bringing violence to us, so we will destroy public property. It's brilliant how we think about these things. The pain body likes Molotov cocktails. And these guys are from Mexico. They don't know how to do a Molotov cocktail. So they're like lighting the Molotov cocktail. The guy's having trouble with his lighter. He finally gets it lit, but he doesn't wait long enough. Guys, you need to hold the Molotov cocktail at least 12 seconds. You're going to want to rotate the bottle. You don't want to get the wick where it gets plenty of oxygen. You're going to create a little vortex. See, a little vortex. And then that vortex is in your hand. Then you throw it. I know it's scary. You're literally holding a bottle of gasoline that has a rag in it that's on fire. Of course it's scary. But this is revolution. And guys, if you're going to do it, fucking do it. Don't phone it in. We don't need my little Molotov cocktails. We need big ass cojones cocktails. So he throws it and the wick goes out. The wick falls out of the bottle. And so all he's really done is just douse the side of a stone building with gasoline. And some of you are like, well, steel beams doesn't melt carne asada sauce. And you're right, queso. Don't even get me started on the queso, okay? Thermite queso, ladies and gentlemen. Thermite freaking queso is at the bottom of this. And until you are ready for that kind of truth, there's no point in even going on about this. So he throws the Molotov cocktail. It hits the wall. The wick falls out. There's no fire. And then his other friends, he kind of feels bad. His other friends kind of like, oh, man. So he goes up and he takes his lighter and he lights the concrete on fire and burns his hand. Then he starts cussing in Spanish. And so past participle of puta is puinte, and puinte is puintata, but only on Sunday. It's confusing as hell. And if you're going down to Mexico, you need to know when someone's cursing at you. You need to understand what it is. And this whole time, I've been thinking pendejo was like a term of endearment. And I don't think it is, guys. Let me know in the comments, but I don't think pendejo is even a term of endearment. And I'm very confused because for years, I've been driving around just going, "What's up, pendejo?" and thinking that this is me tapping into my Mexican roots. Nahuatl. Tapping into the sacred hummingbird. Think about it. Bernie Sanders and the bird. That's like Aztec Mexica right there. You got the god of global warming, and then you got the god of war, and they're freaking combined. That's as Mexica as you can get, right? Watch out for the brujas. See, brujas. What is that? What does that mean, Birch? What does that mean? Tell me what it means. Queso. I don't need your stinking queso. Yes, you guys get it. You understand what's going on. So let me know in the comments. Is it CIA or is it Mexico? The president of Mexico is going through the airport. People are shouting at her. And she's just going like, "Hello, good to see you." Because what else are you going to fucking do? You're president of Mexico, okay? She's probably waking up all the time. It's like, "I'm president of Mexico." Fuck, what are we going to do? And they're just like, "We will paint the wall." She's like, "This is a great idea." And it's great. I think you should paint it more. And I got to tell you something. You fuckers, you fucktards in Mexico, it's like MAGA, make Mexico great again. I've seen you down there. You're walking around like this is what happens when you worship the Dawn of the Dead or the Day of the Dead, and you're more Christian than fucking, well, I was gonna say like Zionist Christian, but they're not actually Christians. So you're great. You're fine. But guys, come on, man. Embrace your roots. Come on. All you guys in Mexico are like, "We didn't sacrifice anybody." And then one of you comes out. It's like, "We found 1,000 more skulls today." And you're just like, "Look, it's just white colonialism." And they're like, "Oh, wait, I just backed up. There's actually 16,000 more skulls over here." And they're like, "Look, just because you find a giant wall of skulls," it's like, "Some of them are children." She's like, "Look, I don't want to be president anymore. Is there a cartel? Pray tell, cartel. Can you guys shoot one of the mayors and I can get out of here?" It's got to be hard. They practice brujery. I don't know what that word means. I'm going to have to look that word up. Oh, is that witch in Spanish? That does. I thought I've heard that word before. Guys, I think brujeria means witch. I heard it from a little bird. Heard it from a friend who brujeria, Spanish word for witchcraft. Raggy roll, witchcraft. It could refer to both the syncretic magical tradition of Latin America and the American extreme metal band. Oh, it's an extreme metal band. Yeah, look, guys, the metal band's not working out. We're going to have to go extreme. We're going to be an extreme metal band. It's like, how do you go more extreme? It's like, we just need a jet ski on stage. That's really all you need to do. If you just like insert a jet ski anywhere, whatever you're doing becomes extreme. Think about it. Witchcraft. Extreme brujery, witchcraft on a jet ski. Guys, it's easier than you think. Branding, people. Branding. Not like slaves in the ass branding, but like marketing. You got to brand this shit. So CIA, looks like everyone's coming down more on the witchcraft. Someone's asking, which craft are you referring to? Which is really hilarious. Well done, guys. Well done. You guys are doing great. Chelsea's for the nacho revolution. It's like not your revolution. This is my revolution. Am I right? Yeah. Don't be so cheesy. Don't worry about it. Catacombs in Paris, City of the Lights. Go, yeah, there's Lori trying to be all, hey man, Paris is built on skulls too. And it's like, you're right. Do. Paris is built on skulls too. You're right. I feel so much more equalized. I'm the equalizer. This is good stuff, guys. Thank you for contributing to these things. Witchcraft, you do that voodoo that you do so well. You do that witchcraft that you do so well. So I think it's CIA. That's what I think. I've already said that enough. We'll move on. It's sad, though. And at the same time, I don't really know what to believe because I don't actually live there. I don't know what's truly happening except for this. America is the closest thing I have to a government, and I know that a lot of taxes end up getting into their workings, and that the taxes that get into the workings are sort of like consent chips, and all those consent chips, whether they have queso or not, that just makes it worse. You're just like, well, if you put queso on your consent, will you eat it now? And a lot of people fall for that. I've fallen for that. I also know that the Mexican restaurant that used to be up here on my mountain is now closed. And I'm pretty sure it's because of ice. It bums me out selfishly because it was like the only restaurant I would go to. Also, one night I went there, it was like maybe 8:30 at night, really shitty weather. And I called in a to-go order. I said, Pollo Loco. That's all you have to say. You're just like, Pollo Loco. They're like, 5 minutes. You're like, okay. And then you go in there, and he recognizes my face. He brings out the food. None of them speak English, or none of them chose to speak English. They probably thought I was Spanish. Honestly, they're probably just like, this dude's one of us. He's like clearly, this dude is one of us. A Blanco Soloto, something like that. El Dios de Blanco. Yeah. El Dios Sol de Blanco. That's what it is. And that's probably what it is. Yeah, they probably did speak English. They just thought I was... Now, let's just pretend that they somehow thought I was like a white guy. And, so I go in there and I give them the money like I normally do. And I didn't have no money. I left my wallet at home. And I felt really embarrassed. And... I was just like, man, I am so sorry. I left my wallet home. I tried to explain. He had no idea what I was talking about. I patted my ass because this is the universal sign for me have no money. And if you're speaking across a language barrier, just use the word me. Just use the word me. You reduce all the other pronouns to me, then they magically understand because it's me, no, have money. See, that's easier. That's magical. It fits through the magical barrier, the quantum signal that connects you to. And the dude is like, it's okay. It's just like, man, thank you. I was so grateful for that. I was going to come back and pay him, but, fuck immigrants. Fuck those guys, right? Fuck those guys. They don't belong here. Right? Of course I came back to pay him. But that guy's gone now. And we scared him away. And the only other place that's up here is a pizza place that's owned by like a mafia family from New York. I'm not actually lying about that. And I think that they're cooking their books because they charge like $68 for like a pizza. Like it's like really up there. And there's no way someone like me can afford that. That's for like the skiers that come in. And they're just like, well, we'll go to the only restaurant because that Mexican restaurant, they don't speak English. So we'll go here. And then you pay $68 for a pizza. And now that's all that's left. That's the monopoly now. And the revenge cult that we call politics is doing that. Those guys were so nice. They've always been nice. They've always been great. And they're gone. We ran them out. So fucktards can feel safer. I'm kind of mad about that, not going to lie. The Tin Man is dead. America's walking Darth Vader finally kicks the bucket. Are you signed up as an organ donor? I ask because during COVID-19, I found out that they weren't either accepting or giving blood unless you had a vaccine.
You're muted,
when that
James.
happened, I was kind of like, that's kind of fucked up. Like, if you gave blood prior to COVID-19 because you felt you believed in the idea of a blood bank, and then now that this is set, they're punishing you and telling you you can't even get blood. That means that when you gave your blood to them, they get to change the rules. They get to decide who gets it. They could literally tell you, we only want to give it to Nazis. We only want to give it to proletariats. We only want to give it to people that are loyal to the machine, which is maybe possibly taking out Mexico. Tell me if you even care about taking out Mexico, right? Like, tell me if you even care. So, some of you may not care. Some people may be like, I don't give a shit about Venezuela. Why would we not take it over? And, you know, I hate to say it, we're in a place and time in life where I think the white sun does it, where we see that we've never really had morality. And when you're looking at the way everyone's behaving around you right now, it kind of holds true. We gave this guy a heart. We gave him a heart. We gave this dude a heart on March 24th, on the spring solstice, probably in 2012. And the atrocities that he committed underneath this heart lasted him a long, long time. He was able to do more damage because we insisted that he needed to be kept alive. The Tin Man needed to stay. And so today when he dies, when Tin Man dies, I'm thinking about the person that gave his heart away. Who gave Dick Cheney his heart? And so I asked AI. And AI told me he received a transplant on March 24, 2012. And his office explicitly said the former vice president and his family do not know the identity of the donor, and they've kept it that way. Later, Cheney said he didn't know who the donor was, and he didn't dwell on it. Dick Cheney dwelt on a lot of things, but the donor's name wasn't one of them. Out of all the things that Dick Cheney focused on, the person's name who gave him a heart really wasn't that important to him. Why do you think that is? Do you think that it's the same reason why someone like Elon Musk, who watches Wikipedia incessantly to see when his name's going to be put in there and what it said about it, and never once does he consider when it says at the top, hey, Wikipedia is trying to raise money right now, can you help us? Never once does he give them money. Never once does he consider that, wow, this is like the world's first open source mythology project. Never once does it occur to him that this is the most organic form of gnosis or wisdom that we have. Even if you disagree with something that's written in Wikipedia, why would Musk simply not hire a bunch of Wikipedia rebels to infiltrate the system and upvote changes about him? Do the same thing that happened with Hillary. And he can't because he's not able to even fathom the idea of giving money to something else. It doesn't occur to him. I brought up this same thing about other people. I've shown you the exact same kind of behavior that seems to occur among a first world country. The first world countries do this, not the third. That it is first world countries that seem to have a deep, deep struggle with the concept of having to let go of energy. And so we call this rich. Not only do we call this rich, we celebrate it. We walk around celebrating how stuck someone is to their riches. We call that word billionaire. We're like, that's a billionaire. Oh my God, that's a billionaire. And we do things to that billionaire. We give him massages. We give him our children. We insist that if he builds a factory here, he'll never have to pay taxes. Why do we do that? Why does Joe Rogan have him back on? More importantly, why when Musk went back on Rogan, why did he just simply keep promising more? That my plan means everyone will be super rich because everyone will have a robot. What a stupid thing to say. But it's not really fair to sit there and go, well, the problem is Musk. It's not really that. You're just looking at the appetite of the collective. And the appetite of the collective wants to make sure this guy gets a heart. Scott Adams, a cartoonist who was one of the first public figures to come out in favor of Trump, tweeted 2 days ago that, hey man, I can't get any help from the medical industry, so I'm calling in my favor to Donald Trump. And after a few thousand retweets, within a few hours, someone's contacting Scott and he has access to medicine that no one else in America has access to anymore. And he did this in the light of day, underneath the sun. And anyone who tried to question that or to use it as some sort of push into maybe a universal health care or some kind of equality issue is met by these same kind of people that don't give a shit. Doesn't matter. And in a way, that's what we bred, which is why people that dwell in their basement and start movements like Nick Fuentes end up being so popular that all he has to do is say, I think Hitler's cool. And if you listen to what Nick said, he didn't say he was cool because of his policies. He didn't say he was cool because of his thinking, his religion, his cosmology, his meth problem, all the other stuff. He said he was cool because a lot of people followed him around. So really, America First, what you're seeing as America First is just a worship of who would follow someone else around. And we insist that's what makes it cool. And not once do we really look into the policies of disenfranchisement, the very structure of what made all this work. Dick Cheney makes disenfranchisement work. The fact that someone would never once consider, whose fucking heart do I have beating in my chest? Or more importantly, though, this is about you. Why would you voluntarily give your heart, knowing that it could be up for grabs for literally anyone to do anything they wanted to do with it? I can't think of being strapped into a mechanism where you would be forced to kill people, for example. This would be maybe, or to torture children, or insert your worst imagery here, that you'd be strapped in, having to own the will, having to produce the red blood cells, having to charge them in a chamber and make them feel a certain way for 10, 12 years, and just watch yourself obliterate other people. And that we call that normal. We call that generous. We call that shit generous, don't we? It's such a psychopathic way of being in a country. And probably the closest thing we can do to understand what's happening is to look at Nazi Germany, which is why it's such a meme. It's why it's such a funny thing that we think is happening. But it's not really funny. We're throwing ourselves away and we don't really care who picks up the pieces or what happens to it. I don't think I'm right. I revoked my organ donor card because I don't believe in the people that would be taking that organ. I don't believe in them. I don't have faith in their system. I don't think that they're looking out for me. And I haven't seen the word hospitable ever used in the word hospital. Maybe when I was 5, maybe. So we don't really have a system that works that way. And more importantly, I don't think that we necessarily want one. I think that we really get off knowing that our CIA could take down another nation. And that would make sense because our military is always losing. And we're probably tired of having something as simple as 19 box cutters take out the most sophisticated military in the world, or 2,500 used Tacoma pickup trucks in the desert. And it goes even back to Carter, where we were flying our helicopters over the desert, and it turned out the sand grains were too small. So all we do is lose, which just breeds this deeper desire for revenge, and then you have the perfect situation where you can strike. And Trump was chosen for that. And the world really is divided between anti-Israel and pro-Israel. I don't know of anything else that's more divisive right now, just collectively in the world. And during these things, you're having people, the same people that are telling you we have to save Mexico, the same people that insist that these are organic fishing boats rushing out to the U.S. Navy. Guys, I don't know what's going on. I don't want to fucking pretend that I do. But it's sus to me. That's all I can say. This is sus to me. The Daily's Wire plot to distract from Israel. Why are these fucktards so focused on SNAP in the middle of a war? Why are these fucktards so focused on SNAP in the middle of the largest Israeli peace deal? Why are these guys so focused on the SNAP in the middle of a massive crackdown of ICE agents rounding up immigrants, dissolving all civil liberties? Why is the one outfit, the one conservative outfit that you would expect to be abhorrently opposed to these things, the same people that called Trump evil, are bitching about SNAP? They're arguing about $36 a day, a year. The average taxpayer contribution to SNAP is $36 per year. This is not a pro-SNAP, anti-SNAP. This is me telling you that the Daily Wire is here to distract you. It is here to change the conservative message to pull it away from Israel. If you do the math, the Daily Wire is dead fast focused on a government charity that's less than a Sally Struthers commercial from 1991. The amount that we spend is less than what Sally Struthers was asking you for back when I was in high school. $4 billion a year goes to Israel every year. Not once will the Daily Wire ever bring that up because they're the same. I don't know if you understand how important your imagination is, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you fully understand how colossally important it is that you have the ability to imagine things and take that hallucination and build a nation off of it. You're looking at an RTX Pro 6000. It's a video card that costs $8,699.94, and it's in stock right now. This is one of many. 15% of the market share of America of the world's economy is invested in video cards. 15%. It is fucking huge. It's all illusion, right? It's all fake, brah. It's not fake. You fail to underestimate. You underestimate the power of your hallucination, excuse me. And that every cell in your body is hallucinating the best reality that it can picture, that's still useful, that's still calming, that still allows it to do things like relax, sleep, digest food, raise family, interact socially. And that video card is tied directly into society. And because it's tied directly into society, you have a desire to trust. You have a necessity to trust. I don't think you'd be able to survive if you couldn't trust. And since you can't fully trust without adapting some kind of collective hallucination, we end up making ourselves very vulnerable to foreign triangles implanted into our monitors by people who we insist are trying to help us. And they're not. The Daily Wire is an Israeli op here to distract you. And it's a cultural psyop. It's a cultural embedded kind of control that simply is a product of how susceptible we are to our own fame and our own witness. I don't think Israel would ever consider Ben Shapiro someone that they would even give respect to be honest with you. I think he's a tool. He's as useless as Matt Walsh is, honestly. And that this stuff runs itself, which is why they don't have to do anything, which is why there's really even no respect there. Right now, yesterday, Trump threatened Nigeria. He said, Nigeria, you got drug traffickers. You got people that are persecuting Christianity, excuse me. And if you keep persecuting Christians, I'm going to come in and attack you. But Trump doesn't do that to Israel. The Daily Wire doesn't mention this. Former top lawyer for Israeli military arrested for leaking a video of soldiers gang raping Palestinian prisoners. True. Before she resigned, she signed off on a paper to release this video, knowing quite well that was going to end her, could even end her life. She went missing for a while. She showed back up. Footage shows Israeli reservists at the, these are reservists, by the way, at the Sadid Tenement, I don't know that, detention facility, taking aside a detainee, forming a wall to block cameras and sexually abusing him with an object. This is daily. This is every day. It's every day. And the perpetrators have come out with basically a GoFundMe campaign. The perpetrators are on camera saying, we're not perpetrators. This is what we're supposed to do. We're allowed to do this. And it goes back into the theme I was telling you yesterday about Palestine itself. The land of white Christians is there to be sacrificed because it's their special relationship with this. And we've teamed up with this. We pay for this stuff. We insist that these guys are the good guys, which is why we need things like the Daily Wire to make us feel better. Israel doesn't need to create the Daily Wire. We do. Do you understand? Israel doesn't give a shit if we're morally comfortable. They just want us to obey. And it works. Trump is obeying. There is, excuse me, there's no way to defeat Israel as long as Trump's in power. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Let's say there's an Israeli revolt. That's not going to change. It's not going to change anything. That revolt will fuel this even more. That's how loyal he is. He's not loyal out of ideology. That's a weak kind of loyalty, believe it or not. It's weak. He's loyal because he can't survive without them. He can't do it. It's just impossible. And hats off to Israel, because honestly, they're trying to revolt. They've been trying to revolt for a while. And right now, more and more children that are asked to go into military service are burning their equivalent of their draft card and saying no, even though it's required. Every single citizen in this place has to fucking hate Christians. You have to fucking hate anyone that's not you. And you got to join military service, because if you do not kill these people, our trauma bond breaks. The entire trauma bond that's keeping all this horridness together would cease to exist if we did not give you a knife, put your heart inside the body of a golem. Literally, when you enlist, you're taking your own heart, putting it inside the golem made by Israel itself. You're wandering through Palestine, trying to kill children. That's your goal. And once you do, you now feel better because you were one of them. It's a rite of passage. And this rite of passage holds the trauma bond, which keeps this whole thing together. I don't know how you could weigh the fucking cojones on this woman. I don't know that there's a big enough wheelbarrow to cart out the cojones that it took for this woman to do what she did. I would imagine it's probably some of the deepest psychological guilt she could ever imagine. And that's the only thing that's pushing through. That this is basically death to her. She's lost everything. And God bless her. This proves God is working. The white sun shows every pore. And for every 1,000 stormtroopers, you only need one Jedi. You just need one. It only takes one. So Trump could give Israel the same ultimatum, couldn't he? Trump could say, hey, you guys are persecuting Christians. You just fucking raped one with a stick. Let's not do that. I'm going to give you a few days. If you don't round up all the persecutors in your country, I'm going to come in and do it for you. This is what Trump said to Mexico. Trump said it to Venezuela. Trump said it to Colombia. Trump said it to every country except for Israel. He said it to Nigeria. But he didn't say it to Israel. And this is really the answer to, are we the baddies? Are we the baddies? Yeah. Yeah, we are. These aren't Israeli dollars. These are American dollars. I used to feel bad knowing all my tax dollars were fueling murder overseas. Now it stings a little less, knowing so much of it is used to poison our own country. Yeah, honestly, that's how I feel. Better to keep that evil in the family instead of spreading it around in the name of freedom. Nazis, Russians, WMDs, box cutters, and fentanyl. These are only a few of our gullibilities. All these words, this is the word, this is all it took. Nazi, Russian, WMDs, box cutter, fentanyl. And we're all on board to be like, yeah, let's fucking give Israel money and let's worship what they do. Let's do that. And you know what? We're so first world, we need to create a giant distraction screen from us so that we can feel better about it. And Sally Struthers is our woman. We're going to do that. We're going to bitch about Snap Program. And it's going to make us feel better. Everything's going to be better now. So what else are you going to do but gripe at this point? All you can do is be a griper. Guys, the engine of righteousness runs like this. First, you build a wall because you're proud. We're proud of our people. We will build a wall. So you build a wall. Then you take people that are bitching about the wall and put them up against the wall and you shoot them in the head. That's step 2. Collect underpants. Step 2. You kill people for or against the wall. That's all. And then after you kill enough, then you tear down the wall because you're starting to feel like a shitbag. You're like, oh my God, I'm a shitbag. Oh no. I'm a shit. Ask not who the bag shits. It shits for thee. And this is a motor. This is the motor of America. It's the motor of righteousness and fascism, and that's why you're seeing it now. This is self-worth climbing on a vine, and it's going to destroy everything until it's standing. It is. And we want it because deep down we want this kind of Osiris. We see what's happening, guys. Consent is a genetic contract forged in your blood. That's a sound effect for blood. When you agree, your RNA records the agreement during transcription. That's right, RNA transcription. Listen to me carefully. Some of you guys might be confused. Your genes are trying as best as they can to copy themselves, aren't they? They're writing a transcription as clear as they possibly can. And something is happening because in the middle of the transcription, this transposon wave, this wave that's caught in the winding of your coil, of your DNA coil, this wave of ripple, like a hive of bees, this rippling moves all the transposons like 3 rows to the right, like it shifts them down. And it creates this kind of terror inside your Quetzalcoatl, inside of your DNA coil, excuse me. The terror is that I'm being erased. Your DNA is constantly being forced under threat of erasure to rewrite what's important. So the transposons that are weaving and shaping your DNA are chaos, pure chaos. And that chaos is swallowing you like the snake. It's swallowing you because time itself, you think about it, if you think about what a transcription is, you are running from time trying to preserve the sacred flame of who you are. And all the stress and all the hell and all the guilt and all the feelings that you have during this process are changing your code. And one of the many things that changes your code is your consent. Your consent ripples through the transposons too. And your DNA is slowly being sculpted by the decisions that you've made. And this consent is forever recorded in the salt of your bones itself. And that calcium, a calcium record is left once you're gone. And we are not anywhere near the capacity to fully embrace our consent. It's too foreign, it's too hard because there's 3.5 trillion blood cells possibly in the human body. And that's just red blood cells. And that number may be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But it's a lot. And all of your other cells, whether even if they're stem cells, even if they're T cells, all the ones that have specialized have a cellular memory. They've logged into the idea that I can contribute to the world by being a toe or a lung or the stomach. And all these contributions that you make is a consent to hold a certain shape, to be a certain way, and that this is the DNA contract you have with yourself. But all these cells are discombobulated. They're scattered across the world. And so when you seek consent in your body, you really are just creating a will, a contract with as many of this population as you can find. You're reaching out through the nebula and you're asking everyone, will you agree? Will you agree? Will you agree? Will you agree? And how the fuck is this not the one world order? How is this not the one world order trying to create a singular Zeus, which means you and I are secretly fully on board with the fascism? We're fully on board with a centralized control, and it's a deep addiction. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's scary as fuck, that's all. But it's a deep addiction for Osiris, that inside of you is this idea of wondering what would happen if every cell in my body agreed for once. What would that be like? I would suggest to you that you would probably be able to walk on water. That you would have so much control over your own will, and this is very Nazi, very fascistic, so please think about that as you're hearing this, that you would have so much control over every cell that the polarity itself would create a magnetic disequilibrium that would fucking render you weightless. Weightless. And that you would walk on water at that point because every cell in your body agrees and changes its spin, its orientation, its cosmology to believe in a central Mecca, a central Zeus, a central nervous system. Your body's already doing this. You could argue maybe you only have 3% control. But if 3% of your body is fully embraced into a central Zeus, that's enough, because it's enough of a minority that you can take over the entire system. And I would argue this is really what consciousness is. That I've just described to you literally just what consciousness is. It's a bunch of cells that have agreed to a certain tenet, a technocracy, a plurocracy, a council of wise men, whatever you want to do or see, that is what is made. And this is what we follow. This is probably our truer nature. It really is. Final thing, then we'll get to some calls. Hopefully we got some calls. I don't see any hands up, but hopefully we'll get some calls. If you don't know, you can go to Patreon right now, by the way, and you'll see that link in there. And then when you have that link, you can join in and give a call. Maybe I should even give out the number. Oh, look, there's a question for James. Sorry. If Donald Trump just posted this. If communist candidate Zohran Mandami wins the election for mayor of New York City, it is highly unlikely that I will be contributing federal funds other than the very minimum is required to my beloved first home, New York City. Because of the fact that as a communist, this once great city has zero chance of success or even survival. It can only get worse with a communist at the helm, and I don't want to send as president good money after bad. It is my obligation to run the nation. It is my strong conviction that New York City will be a complete and total economic and social disaster should Mandami win. Blah, blah, blah. Suck my dick. Oh, you guys suck. You suck. You suck. I'm the only one who knows what's going on. And this is your president. There is no law. There is only revenge. And I've never seen someone more interested in producing a civil war. And by having that war, you would have the ability to basically do whatever you want. It's a state of war. You've reignited the power of Lincoln. It's one of the trapdoors that has been in our Constitution that no one has ever fixed. Not once has anyone ever said, hey, we should fix that door. No one did. You can't even have a discussion where you can call Lincoln a dictator. You can't even get people to consider that idea. It's so foreign to them. It's such a foreign notion, isn't it? It's a crazy time out there. Let's take some calls. Caller, you're on the line. Hope you can hear me. State your name. Where are you from?
This is Frank from Connecticut. I just wanted to say I think it's a crazy world we live in that we have a president that hates us. And he's told us he hates us. And there is no law. And somehow we're supposed to still believe in America.
That's right, Frank. You do pay your taxes, I hope.
I do, and I'm not happy with the way they're spending them at all. I really think that we ought to be able to control where our taxes go and vote no to Israel if that's what our heart chooses.
Yeah, if only more people felt that way. If only more. Thank you for the call, Frank. Appreciate that. Guys, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? Are you going to call in? Or are you just going to be like, no, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to worry about it. Meanwhile, when you look around at what all's happening out there and all the stuff that I was going to show you this thing, but I have to get out of it. Everything's I saw this and I thought, I think this probably really does capture just what's happening. I think you should be able to hear this. Let me see. Oh wait, this is excuse me. You got to do it this way. You got to do it this way. Give me 1 second here.
Del Brasil, ciudadano Iván Roberto Sierra Medel, la Comisión Permanente ha ratificado su nombramiento como cónsul general de México en Toronto, Ontario, Canadá.
We got this.
Ciudadano Julián Adén Díaz de León, la Comisión leal y patrióticamente el
Seriously,
cargo.
it's fine, guys. It's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's normal. All conditions normal. We have democracy. Everything's fine. Just keep voting. Just keep voting. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Hey, we got another caller on the line, I think. Let's see. Caller, can you hear me?
Hey, James, Brad. I think
Brad.
We got a question in the comments there. I think the old man music was asking, what do you think will be the fate of Europe?
The fate of Europe. Wow, what a good question. Thank you for that, Brad. Appreciate it. I don't know if Europe's alive. So I think that there's a colony mindset that a lot of people have. This is why probably the clearest channel to liberation is really just to allow the people that want to play with slavery more. And the EU is exercising this, both ideas at once, that we want to see what happens if Osiris rises, but we also want our independence, but one of them is clearly winning over the other one. So I would say that Europe's already fallen, and I would say that the reason why is precisely because of the word white. That being colorless means your roots are not connected into the soil. And you probably think that it's noble to come to America and keep like a Norse mythology, for example, or like I'm pagan Odin or Celtic or I'm Druid. And that all those things are, first of all, more power to you. I just want you to enjoy yourself. So whatever your imagination, sorry, you probably think the word imagination is like a negative, but whatever your cosmology, whatever the way that you want to identify yourself with is crucial, because you tap into the power of that thing. But keep in mind, if your talisman is not actually rooted in the soil, I think you're gonna come up dry. I think this is what happened with Hitler. I think that the fatherland is a beautiful idea, but people were not willing to tap into their own symbology. They had to pull it out of India, didn't they, with the swastika? They had to grab symbols that did not exist here and import them like an immigrant would do. and gather themselves around it the same way Fuentes and the Groypers are taking a Nazi ideology and bringing it here. This is truly the most devastating part of the white man itself. The cutting of the placenta removes that Ka. That Ka has no place to serve as a battery. That battery will never survive, and you'll end up clinging to a hypothetical culture that doesn't exist anywhere around you versus someone who maybe embraces Turtle Island in America, someone who maybe embraces the local lore, someone who would take the time to discover, well, where am I? What used to be here? Aren't I one of those people now? Because truly, where you live, if possession is 9/10 of the law, then your identity is going to be 9/10 of where you exist, bitches. That's right. And just as I found this out the other day, the Louisiana, I have some friends in Louisiana that you've got the Caddo, the Tunica, the Natchez, the Huama, the Atacapa, the Chitimacha, and the Choctaw. And that these civilizations would be how you would find your supremacy. Your color is going to have to come to the soil. And if you do not have a placenta, or God forbid, you had it incinerated in a hospital, probably run by a Jew, I'm going to say that louder, probably run by a society that needs scapegoat, that wants to feel detached, because if you're detached, think about how easy it is to be a lamb, how easy it is to be a sacrificial lamb, how easy it is to raise a giant field of Charlie Kirks that are just cucking and cucking and cucking and cucking, desperate for some sort of teat to suck on because their placenta is gone. So Europe doesn't have a placenta. It's you. It's you. That's what it is. And the idea of mixing cultures is actually fine. It's fine. People are terrified to listen to different music. That's what it is. You're like, hey, look, I liked Def Leppard when I was in 5th grade. First of all, Def Leppard's still fucking badass. But there's other music out there. There's other music out there. And that other music is even more related to who you are now. And if you're not willing to listen to change to that, you will never be able to recognize that you just want to dance, bitch. You just want to dance. You don't need a certain psyche or a certain cosmology based on all these things. But if you do not experiment with your cosmology, you're too afraid to even try these things. And you're probably too afraid because you have a Stockholm placenta syndrome. You heard it here first. Stockholm placenta. Stockholm placenta. Stockcenta. And until you have that Ka, I think until you pull that book down. I lent it to a friend. I really regret that because she fucking hates me now. And I'm like, fuck, that was a $70 book. I wish I wouldn't have lent it to you because I could use it right now, but that's okay because sometimes people we hate, you have to give them stuff. Look at the shoe pie. But all this stuff is just part of like how we try and connect and pollinate each other. But I used to have a book that would allow you to look up your city and it would tell you here's probably who you are right now. And when I started to look these words up, koala, katua, fuck, Nanaila, Chief fucking white bear. All these things were just explosions where my roots were reaching down into the soil, connecting into the native spirit of who I am. And the ancestors have been there the whole time. And some of you will be scared because you'll go through the red gauntlet where you'll try and participate with someone who maybe is red-skinned and they're going to tell you can't because you're white, that is the gauntlet, that's the gauntlet. And that if they dared to challenge you to say you don't belong, this would be the one thing that would actually allow you to finish yourself. That you'd be able to finish your psyche in this way and be like, fuck yeah, man, I know who I am because you know who you are. So ultimately, I think every country has fallen if you're buying into Zionism, because Zionism is a promise that you have something that's coming to you. And when you, thinking of the word, when you dissect what that really means to be a Zionist, you discover that you were homeless. That's all it means. Zionism is the ability to make you feel like you don't have a home. And if you don't feel like you don't have a home, you get to be disenfranchised. And if you feel disenfranchised, someone can franchise that. And the people who are going to franchise that do not give a shit about you, nor will they ever once consider placing any kind of ka or placenta back inside of you. That's not going to work. Placenta is a ball and chain. Placenta reminds you that you are in a kind of slavery with this realm where you were forced to breathe. You were forced to find coal in the darkest mountains and bring that coal out and process it in the light of day. These things are spiritual journeys, pilgrimages. And I think most of Europe is not ready for that pilgrimage. We got a caller on the line. Caller, please unmute. Tell me your name, where you're from.
You addressing me, James?
Yes, I am. Go ahead.
It's Drew from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Right on. How's it going?
Man, I miss you guys. I really do. I'm in the process of listening to the last dojo, and I just want to say the way everyone's handling themselves, the core group, it inspires me.
Right on.
And I don't get to participate very much, and especially at night. My night is my creative time, and I'm guarding it pretty jealously right now. But I do listen to all the dojos, and yeah, it means a lot just to witness for you guys. That's all I really wanted to say.
Thank you, Drew. It's great to hear from you. I've been missing your voice, and it's good to hear it. Thank you. Thanks for calling in.
You're welcome.
Chelsea says, that's what's up. I'm Quachita. Is that right? Quachita. I've never heard this word. This is great. I was called from the land to be here, and I love that I listened. I love that you listened too. That is beautiful. I'm going to look this up. Quachita. You better get in here, Quachita. Quachita, don't you be calling me. Oh my God, look at Quachita.
I think you're muted, James.
Trying to figure out how to fix that.
I don't think it's on
okay,
YouTube,
gotcha. I'm not muted. Sorry. Yeah, you're right, True, but yeah, I turned down the wrong button. Thank you. Thank you. You guys bear with me. I'm working on some things. The audience heard me say Quachita. That's what happened, and that came from Chelsea. And I've just looked this up. The Quachita Beast incident. Did you know about this? Chelsea, how do you pronounce Quachita? Is pronoun Washita. Wa. Okay, so it's not a Q. No. Yeah, it is. Wa. Okay, Wachita. It is spelled with a Q. She spelled it right. I'm just saying that it says it's Wachita. Let's see this. What is this? This is interesting. How do I think I do this? Yeah. What does this say?
You are looking at Julian's pronunciation guide.
Yeah, I don't want to get copyright strikes. So Wachita, I don't know what that is, but there's a Wachita Beast incident. That sounds pretty interesting. Incident real. The Wachita incident, a true story based on Arkansas wilderness. Mark ventures in wilderness where he crosses the path with a beast that forever changed his life. That's right. You're going to find some beasts there. That's some beautiful land. I've been putting forth the idea that it's very likely that that's Atlantis. That the Mississippi Delta is a really prime candidate for Atlantis. First of all, you have the ring of the Gulf of Mexico, of Mexica, the Gulf of Mexico, is an outer ring, first of all. Second of all, you would find another ring on the shores of Louisiana. Picture that most of the Mississippi Delta is underwater. And then it would sort of be like an Outer Banks kind of a thing. In fact, the Outer Banks itself could have been part of these rings itself. And there's an ancient tradition, an Aslan tradition, that says that the people who found the cactus with the eagle piercing a snake came from the east, from a land that was sunken into water, and that they called themselves the Aslands. So it's like, what the fuck? This sounds just like Atlantis. And even though a lot of us like to drool, and I'm guilty of this, over ancient Mediterranean history, it's just so fascinating. Rome and Italy and all those things. Really, the only reason why that stuff is fascinating is simply because you do not know what's here. You see, history requires more time before you can start to uncover it. It requires more time, not less. And that most of the time, the first thing you do is you lose history. This is why when all the Spanish came in and they started to rewrite the codexes, that the codices themselves were the only record we have because everything else was devastated. And that this devastation will probably take thousands of years before we really truly see what was here in North America. We can only speculate as best we can, but I can tell you, Indian money is the oldest form of currency. These coral shells that can be found all the way up in the Great Lakes. And that this turtle was ripped apart a long time ago by water. And that this water separated these lands, and that these lands had some people that were moon-eyed people, some people that were what we would call giants. These giants ate acorns, which means they didn't really have the same kind of taste buds that we did. They didn't participate in society. Sometimes they would come and eat our children. Those people are still here. Those genes, those people that did all those things in Israel, they're everywhere. It's not just Israel. Why do we know Egyptian culture? It's because the Nile Basin doesn't move. It's one of the most tectonically stable places in the earth, one of the few. And when you have a tectonically stable place like that, you have a river that certainly will shift back and forth, but the overall structure, the overall place itself, the Nile, the Black, the land of the Black, has remained black for longer than anything else. And this is where we see our history. I want to remind you guys that Egypt has collapsed 3 times. And during each of these collapses, we've actually seen a degradation in ancient civilization, and our ability to interpret and build things actually was lost. Every dynasty was a loss. And we can't picture the idea that civilization would work backwards, and it doesn't work backwards. We're just so afraid that it would work backwards that we can't imagine that it would be a sine wave. This up and down, this undulation of progress and loss of progress, progress and loss of progress. This is why there's a big misunderstanding, I think, about Horus, about the placenta itself. And if you were an ancient slave cult rejected by the Egyptians, rejected by Pharaoh, you might look at some of the things that are considered their most primal, their most important symbols, and use those against you the same way you would slaughter the sacred Egyptians' ram's horn. And that one of the things that you might slaughter may actually be the magic of Ka itself. The idea that if one is not planted, if their placenta is not planted, they become a Zionist. This image, this is Horus. And Horus is on top of Osiris from his belly button, from his navel. This shows you the placenta theory in full detail. And I want you to picture that the first early gods that we have a record of is the Egyptian god Men. It's a black dude, giant raging boner. And if civilization was collapsing, and if your religion, your cosmology, your science of the body itself, of Luxor Temple, the body itself was being lost, can't you imagine how easy it would be to misconstrue the umbilical cord for the phallus? And this whole time when you hear stories about Osiris has lost his golden phallus, every one of us has assumed that this is his penis. And that Isis has had to collect all these parts, has gathered all these parts, but could not find the penis, is what we tell ourselves. And because she could not find the penis, she made one out of gold. And I want you to take that story, turn it on its head, and realize it's the umbilical cord. And it's gone because Horus had to die so you could be born. And it had to be constructed out of gold because the only way to tap into that stuff is through omniscience, is through technology, is through the magic of circuitry and Thothian ancient memory. We have a caller on the line. Caller, can you hear me with your hand up? Please go ahead. Tell me your name, where you're from.
Hey, James. This is Cameron calling from the road in Oklahoma. I had a question. Came up just as you were speaking about the degradation of religion as it originated from Egypt. If you can hear me clearly.
Yeah, you sound great. Thank you.
Okay. I wonder, I come from a psychology sometimes that thinks it's best to break cycles, and I'm not actually even sure that it is best to break cycles, but if it is a degradation, do you think that the cycle that needs to be broken is that of spoiling the blood, or is it the blood as the placebo? And if it is the blood as a placebo, can we find a better placebo than the blood to make these sacrifices? It seems like the most worthy sacrifice when I think of just my own body as the Osiris model.
Yeah.
And thank you.
What a great question. Can you clean the blood? Can you cleanse the blood? Can you transfuse the blood? We're trying all these things right now. We just came up with a new blood type, by the way. Just discovered one. The ripple is changing. And so as we become more complex, we also become less compatible, less the ability for each other to run off each other's blood. Probably because the wisdom of how this system works is starting to become more ingrained in us. It would be our desire to want to clean the blood without actually having to go through and abolish or baptize ourselves. But isn't the magic of baptism really here showing us exactly what Cameron's talking about? That there's a holographic kind of way of sweeping memory, of wiping clean things that have been dirtied by your own actions or by your own ignorance, more importantly. Because as I've said so many times before, this really isn't a battle between good and evil. It's a battle between you and the lack of you. And the lack of you would be one who cannot own up to what is inside their blood, to the blood libel itself. So in a way, you could call the holy chalice, I hope this answers Cameron's question, the holy chalice, the holy grail, would almost have to have spoiled blood inside of it. And that spoiled blood would be waiting for the alchemy of redemption itself, for it to become clean. And if you could actually control the spin and polarity of every one of your blood cells, if you were so focused and so in tune with every breath that you would realize that all these breaths are charging that blood and cleansing it if you feel worthy. The magic of baptism is a very new technology. It's been used against you for a long time. The idea that you could only be baptized once, have you heard this idea? Is probably a kind of psychic attack that's insisting, look, you need to hold this libel because the libel is control. What is demonology? It's some sort of consciousness that's living inside of you, that is possessing you, correct? And it would be able to possess all the places that you are not there, which means that your blood would have to be possessed by your lack of presence, that the responsibility for the polarity of each of those red blood cells would be dictated from everything that you do not dictate yourself. You are Zeus. There are too many red blood cells for you to count. That means you cannot use rationality or fascism to hunt down all these motherfuckers and make them conform to you. You're going to need to have some kind of magic. I suggest to you that the magic that you are practicing on your own blood cells is happening in the world today, and it is a song of peace and war, and that you are shaking these rattles like a wise man in New Orleans on Mardi Gras, and the big chief is shaking one stick and shaking a cradle, shaking a stick and shaking a cradle. And these two vibrations are the furthest places away from each other. And that it's a kind of stereo music that's asking you, can you hear me? And when you hear the music, you begin to compassionate it, and the vibration itself acts as one of the most important forms of healing that we have not tapped into yet, which is just sonic technology, isn't it? That the vibrations, your vibration itself, the charisma that you have is capable of healing, that the placebo dome on you can put forth a belief that is so powerful that the entire world will become fucking Nazis. So who is Trump controlling? Maybe he's controlling the cells, the red blood cells inside your body that you haven't been able to own yourself. And so you're looking for someone to become responsible for them because you cannot be responsible for them yourself. There's a rising tide of imperialism around the world, and I'm not even against imperialism. I'm against evacuation, which is why I think the only true way to control the entire world is through a confederacy. That the word control ceases to even exist at that point because you're just looking at a symbiotic form of life itself. Have you considered that the United Nations is closer to the Confederate model than anything else? The United Nations is an article of confederacy, and each nation has the ability to veto. Now, we've tried to bastardize this. We've given some nations the ability to veto what everyone wants itself, and that they're placed in the center as the 5 superpowers, and that those superpowers have more power than the rest of you because our psyche has not gotten to the place yet where all of us would have veto. America First will look like there is no such thing as income tax. America First will look probably something closer to a consumption tax. America First will look like states' rights. America First will look like tribalism. It will look like a dead stalemate government that hardly ever moves because that truly is the healthiest model. But we are insisting that snakes and hair has to be beautiful, and so we will put lipstick on every pig we can find and then slaughter it, and then feel guilty for that slaughter while we put new pigs in the way to cover up the last ones that we had. And the whole time we're drinking that blood, the whole time we're covering up our own messages. All the trauma in your life is the key. All the evilness that you've done, the evacuation that you performed, the things that you've forgotten is the key to this place. And it will kick off, I think, a kind of snowball avalanche effect where all you end up with is people remembering and remembering and remembering and remembering. And people will say, wait, I'm not missing my penis. It's been here the whole time. I'm missing my umbilical. I'm missing my umbilical because I fell for a religion that told me I didn't have land. I had a promise, and that promise was somehow more powerful than soil itself. We've got another call. Unmute, please. State your name. Where are you from?
I'm on behalf of Russell. Russell's got a question. I'm a Brad from Atlanta.
Thank you, Brad. Yeah, go ahead.
But Russell had asked about, have you ever talked about or heard of Sabrina Wallace? And she talks about government connected humanity through high frequency, connected to humanity through the high frequency.
Right on. No, I've never heard of that name. I'm just ignorant is all. So
yeah, I'm not either.
But you would think that we would have to be connected through frequency because we're connected through a central simulation or hallucination. And this hallucination requires us to kind of find a similar bandwidth. And so we have to buy into each other's lies, so to speak. But keep in mind, our definition of lies needs to change. Lies are some of the most creative forces that you have, and that they've been corralled into this system of only the leaders can lie. And so you're trying to negotiate with people that are telling you now that you have TDS, for example, when Trump has 34 felonies. So we're not really existing in a place where laws are applicable or morals are applicable or anything else. And truly, I think this is where we need to be. We need to leave the harbor of turn the other cheek objectivism, because it's just a cult of morality, of majority. That's really all it is. And each of us should embrace our own cosmology. I know that this is going to lead to tribalism, and that a lot of tribes are going to insist our religion's best, our cosmology's best. And frankly, that's what we need, a confederacy of different religions testing against each other, sometimes even violently. And that the violent tendencies that some people have would be just as much a crucial part of learning about this cosmology as the rest. And it'll be messy, but it already is messy. It'll be corrupt, but it already is corrupt. It'll be evil, but it already is evil. So really the only thing we're changing is we're just making ourselves own our own consent for our own decisions, because we no longer get to hide behind the idea that somebody forced me to do this. This helps you more than them. Insisting that the system is being controlled from forces outside of you helps them more than you. And I know this is very unpopular, and I wish that I would shut up, but when I see people say the word Ashkenazi, it bothers me, because I think that we are now chasing ghosts. We've moved into the same Zionistic hypothetical. And I think that I'm pushing uphill. I'm not gaining any ground there, so I need to shut up. But man, we keep missing the enemy. Like, man, we keep missing the ability to really look at this blood libel from an up close and personal standpoint, because when you consider that Michael Jackson is supposed to be innocent, that everyone says Michael Jackson has to be innocent because he hates the Jews. And these are wonderful things to think about. But I think that you have a fantasy in your head that if you can sexually abuse someone their entire life as a child and force them to live on stage, that they're not going to be an abuser. This is the fantasy that you would have as Stockholm, because you would insist there was no way that you would be as evil as they are. And this is really what keeps the American dream alive. It keeps us ticking in this place because we can't fully embrace responsibility because we're surrounded by people that are showing us creatively how we don't even have to do that. We've got another caller. I think it still might be true. Go ahead, please.
Hi. Yeah, it's me.
Great.
I've been pondering this for a while since you talked about the swamp as being the place to gather the snakes in here.
Mm-hmm.
What if Gaia Sophia was doing the same thing with a religion to bring all the psychopaths into one place?
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a lot I've been reading, I can't cite you the source, but there's evidence that there were mass conversions to Judaism in the Mediterranean back right after Carthage fell. And what a perfect device to bring all the psychopaths into a psychopathic place where they could worship together.
Yeah. It's brilliant logic. And honestly, most of the things that really help psychopathy is a group. I think the guy that was cheating at Pac-Man is a perfect example of this. The guy that was cheating at Pac-Man, the people that were backing up, telling him that he was legit, were also cheating at Pac-Man. and the same thing happened with Lance Armstrong. The same thing happens with all of them. So the religion of the corrupt ends up creating its own magnet, doesn't it? It's its own tourist that collects others around them. And truly, the more you allow it to fester, the easier it is to see. And the easier it is to see, the harder it is to ignore. And the harder it is to ignore, the more it becomes necessary to look at it. So once again, Gaia's created a perfect system, hasn't she?
Yes.
A system that allows these things to freely experiment and try out their whatever wordiness, whether it be fascisticness or equalityness or sensitivityness or whatever it is that you want to label it as now. You're allowing a system to convolve, test itself, and all of us get to judge it accordingly. This is why our judgment is such a crucial piece of morality. It's kind of like a collective morality. So when we like certain things or hate other things or vote for the lesser of evil, we're just simply piling on, creating this experiment so everyone else can judge us completely too. This is probably one of the most accurate ways of self-reflection through a rapid response where you have a limited timeline. You would need to see yourself and others like a disco ball where you're constantly being ashamed of your own behavior, and it's comfortable enough because you're seeing it from someone else, even if that person's all the way across the world and is a different color wearing a different shirt, so you can call them bad for it, right? All these help us see these things.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Thanks.
Guys, you're welcome to call in. Anyone is welcome to call in. You can disagree. You can agree. You can try and put up some bad pictures if you want. We'll see how Brad's doing on the trigger stuff there. But yeah, guys, I think you're looking at a white hot sun that's moving things faster than it ever has, and that this is all progress. Beautiful, wonderful, killer progress. And even understanding that CIA versus Mexico, this is probably much more natural when it comes to how modern warfare would be, because honestly, we've kind of grown tired of war. Not all of us, but we want a war that's a little bit more clean. This is why genocide is such a common term now. Genocide is technically more clean. It's about as clean as you can get if you're going to throw someone's placenta in the incinerator and just not tell them about it. Isn't it weird that you don't have access to these things? I had something removed from my face a few years ago, a long time ago, and I had to have my face peeled off. It's this really scary thing, at least for me at the time. And after the surgery, I asked to see it, and they said, no, you can't. And I got kind of upset by that. It turned out that if I wanted to see that, I would have had to have known beforehand that they were going to be keeping that. They said that's their property. They didn't say they incinerated it. They said that's their property. It doesn't belong to me. And that thing grew inside of me. It's a little tumor. I like to call it Davy. And I don't know where Davy is now. I don't know what's being done. But technically, they found a rapid growth hypercell that was growing faster than anything else. And that would seem to be something that could be valuable or even interesting. It would be something that maybe you might even want to study in a lab. And when you start to look at what happened, like to my mom, for example, my mom passed away, and then the final 3 days of her life, I think they were able to pump her for like $70,000 in x-rays. And that they knew this is a dying body and this is the last chance we have to milk it, to pull every resource out of it. And you may call this as evil, but this is actually what's called a macrophagy. There's actually a little device inside your body that does the same thing. It waits for a cell to call it, to say, hey, I need help. It calls the ambulance. The macrophagy comes. It's not there to make you feel better. It's there to incinerate you. It's there to eviscerate you. It's there to prove to the world that you have value, especially when you're dead. Because when you're dead, you get to lose your sentience over those things, which is why we have an organ donor program and a blood donor program, but none of us really have access to that. It's not a smart contract. You can't revoke that later. By the way, if you've signed up for a driver's license, you're probably an organ donor. The only way that you can probably get off that, I'm not going to tell you how, because this needs to be your decision. I don't want you to dirty me up in your own morality, but you're just going to have to Google that. You have to Google that and hope that the system will even honor that. But you still end up spoiling the blood, which is what Cameron, I think, maybe was alluding to earlier. If you revoke your consent, you spoil the blood as an innocent sacrifice. You spoil it. And your ability to taint that blood is probably directly proportional to your constitution, to your ability to imbue red blood cells when they're in your heart, in your chamber. So every breath counts. Every breath is practice to see how much of your body can you get on board as being conscious. Because all of you would still share a similar frequency. All of you would share a similar DNA antenna, which means you have more in common with your cells than you don't. This is why we reject other tissue. And when you start to learn what it is to have things more in common with yourself, you discover chimerism, which means this is what I mean about not being a Zionist, guys. Chimerism, the fact that you have DNA inside of you that is not you, but yet it is you. And that you could have maybe as much as 4 to 8 unique different people inside of you, like DNA-wise. If you were to do a DNA sample on a crime scene, they would rule. It looks like there were 6 different people here. It looks like there were 3 different people here. And yet all these things are you because you occupy the host, the holy host, the same way you occupy a car. You slip into every cell and you ask the cell, are we on the inside of the body or the outside of the body? Believe it or not, this is the first thing that happens in the blastocyst. Your first meiosis, the first cell is split. This is literally the definition of life, if you think about it, is the first time that your blastocyst created itself, selfed itself. It went in the back and kind of fisted itself, and it created its first meiosis. Its first meiopic copy of itself would be the first will to live. You define your first will to live through secreting this cell, and that cell is instantly surrounded by people that it has things in common with. It has the same DNA signature. And it can be taught over time to hallucinate collectively with the rest of it. And to get back to the question, the first thing it asks when it's born is, am I on the inside of the body or the outside of the body? And guess what? If you're on the outside of the body, that cell's male. If you're on the inside of the body, that cell's female. This is the entire gender equation. Every single thing that you think is gender is sex. And every single thing that you think is sex is literally a question. Am I on the inside of the body or the outside of the body? Which is it? And that as the body keeps growing, different cells have to change sex. They're pleomorphic, bitches. Get used to it. You're pleomorphic and you change your sex all the time because your body changes. The outer perimeter of your body is no longer the outer perimeter because it's been formed by another wall itself. We have a caller on the line. Who is this?
Hi, this is Renee. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Renee.
I have a question from Renegade Mystic. I was just scrolling. Let me just find that again. The king of Kazan, who allegedly converted the entire nation to Judaism, the Khazarian Jews. Thoughts? So the king of Kazan. Did you hear that, James? Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was getting at earlier with Ashkenazis. And I'm just, in my mind, I think we're just moving, we're turning the predator into a ghost and allowing them to just slip away and call themselves Poland. That's just how I feel. I think I'm probably wrong. In my mind, though, the ones that are the most rebellious would still be in the same place they were a long time ago. And those people would be traumatized in a blood ritual that's going to look like Palestine. And those people would have no reason to leave. They would have zero reason to leave. That would be their sacred land for so long that the only way that trauma could survive. Keep in mind what I'm saying, that your placenta is in the soil. You're rooted in the soil, which means I don't think you can pull that off by moving to Poland and doing the same thing. Could be that the world's just full of evil people. It could be there's just more than one. It could be that the idea that we have to give the Optimus Prime of evil to the Jews is something that we're doing to make ourselves feel better. I don't think I'm right, though. I'm just intuitively guiding my quivers at the correct enemy, and it seems to be the ones that are still humping the rock. It seems to be the ones that are still practicing the Palestine, that are still practicing the slaughter on that thing. So I don't think people should listen to me on this, because I end up pulling torque away when people maybe need it, because they want to believe it is these people. And that ultimately, the more you hate a certain people, the more you'll discover they're a scapegoat, the more you'll discover how important they were to you in order to you to own your own stuff, because we're the ones giving Israel $4 billion. We are. It's not the Khazarians. It's not the Kazakhstanians. It's not the Upanishads. It's us. It's literally us. And if we can look directly into that butthole and not have it sear our eyeballs out, I think we could learn a lot. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, when you were discussing the footage from Israel in regards to the military personnel taking advantage of
Yes.
the Palestinian prisoners and using an object to do so. But prior to that, they built a wall so as not to be seen. So
Yes.
I find it interesting that the wall is there also to hide the action as well as keep people out. And I also suspect that people who were perpetrating that on that particular individual are also traumatized. So how would you keep that going? How would you keep rolling that out? But to have someone do that to someone else, to keep that trauma, the bondage of trauma continuing. So that was just that's a really white sun there with that photograph and that particular one putting herself out there, the attorney.
Yep.
I am just, that's what we're talking about. That's moral, because it's the hard thing to do.
It is,
right?
so, you're so right. And it really, I don't know if we can appreciate just how moral she is. Like, because you are one of them. And I don't know if that's a problem to say that, guys. We are one of them. What we are doing the same thing right now. And to see someone like this, and to know that she's able to pull that off, should inspire all of you to realize that redemption is not out of reach. That even though all of our money is going to this, and even though you feel brutalized if you don't pay taxes, and some of you literally have no choice because you're getting a paycheck from someone else, you can't even try and say no to that. That ultimately what you're looking for is for sunlight. You're looking for people to be able to see what is happening with such clarity that there's nothing else they can do. And the fact that they're building a wall to shield it from the cameras shows you that they know. Even though they're giving a press release saying we're allowed to do this, there's nothing wrong, you guys should be cheering for us, we're heroes of the land because we raped these people. We still needed a wall because we're looking for privacy from God. This really is the ultimate way to find out who you are, is getting privacy from God. There's nothing else that's going to show you and God what you're truly capable of. If you can place yourself in a state where either you don't believe in God or you don't care, this is the spot where all authenticity comes out. This is why the Pied Piper is such a crucial archetype in this world. Someone is going to come and play a song that is captivating, and your friends are going to be enthralled by this song. It's playing right now. Make America Great Again. It's playing right now. Ice on our streets. Immigrants go home. Whatever the fuck. It's playing right now. And you're watching people that you thought that you held a common bond with, and you're seeing very clearly that you don't. And this might seem dissettling to you, but this dissettlement is you raising your stalk. You were lifting off the ground. You were becoming a flower that's either going to bud or it's not. And it's up to you. There's no pressure. God doesn't even need you to flower. He just needs you to see if you can make it. That's all. You can die whenever you want. All you have to do is tell yourselves, can we stop mitosis? And truly, I think when we have enough sentience over our own body, we're going to be able to stop mitosis. That it takes your skin 3 or 4 days to realize you're dead. Did you know that? It's like one of the oldest, I think maybe your hair's older. It takes your hair even longer, of course, even though most of your hair's dead too. But that the organ of the skin itself really doesn't get to even hear you. That the voice of Zeus inside you is not loud enough to reach the outer ice wall of your skin. And this should show you how far away we are from Osiris, but also how much is waiting for us when we make it. The glorious revelation of 3.5 billion trumpets sounding at the same time. It's going to be quite a majestic sound. Even if you don't want it to happen, deep down you do. Deep down, you just want to hear what that sound is like. What it's like to be a horned Venus. What it's like to reach that pinnacle where you're in charge of your own infinite production. Isn't that what we're doing with genetics now? Isn't that what Emma Watson just announced yesterday, that she'd be selfing herself? That she'd be taking probably a cell from her thigh, would be my guess, and pulling out the genetic code inside of that, and pairing those two codes together inside of another vessel, inside of another womb, and that someone else would be a surrogate for her infinite self. This is not Emma Watson marrying someone else. This is Emma Watson cloning herself. And if you haven't thought about what cloning is like, I really recommend you read the book Black Eye Club. It takes you in the journey of what that truly means, of the kind of hostage situation that's created, and also the kind of godlike quality that you get to taste, knowing that you're tapping into the same magic as Noah, as the patriarchs, and that we're doing that right now. That right now we're doing that. Right now, Emma Watson has Emma Watson growing inside of another woman that she's probably give like 50 grand to. Says, hey, I need you to just hold this. And because of chimerism, see, you've been programmed with this. Your genetic code has been given this special ability to where it can run off a hybrid system, that it can be pulled out like an air conditioner out of one car and placed into another. I'm sorry, like a transmission out of one car. Sure, it's messy, but you can pull it out and you can put it into another car and you can still friggin' work. And if your transmission dies, if your heart dies, it's no problem. We will find an anonymous person from the junkyard and we will never ask fucking questions. This technology is purposely held from us until today, because only today, I think, are we ready to even think about bequeathing it. And this is ancient technology as much as it's new. Some of the oldest magic in the world, and it scares the shit out of us, which is why we're freaking out about fertility. Caller, you're on the line. Go ahead and unmute. What you got?
Hey, James, Brad in Atlanta again. I think it's quite fascinating. I'm sure everyone's heard about the idea with organ transplant, that you take on energetic qualities of the donor. Mm-hmm. Like certain people gaining talents they never had when after a heart transplant and things like this. I wonder what subtle ways that affected Cheney and in
Yeah.
terms of his disassociation from like that he even cares where it came from, because I'd imagine that everyone would be aware that this is a factor in play, right?
Yeah.
That him actually pretending that he doesn't care where the heart comes from, almost trying to disassociate from any effect, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. So from what I've read, there's one famous case is a motorcyclist who gave his heart to someone else. And the person he gave his heart to was like an older woman, already kind of had her adventure in life. And she went kind of nuts. Like she became an adrenaline addict. And so you could say that the cellular memory that's inside that heart is now alive in her. So the spirit of that motorcyclist is still alive. But he's trapped inside a body that wants to be tame. In a way, you could imagine that might be torture. I mean, it may not be. It may be a really fun ride for the motorcyclist to do that. I don't mean to disparage anyone. It's more about sovereignty, I guess, is my point today. It's more about what are you going to be responsible for? And one of the things I would think that we would start with is your body. And we have a culture that insists, yeah, you should just let that go, man. Don't be so selfish. Let Dick Cheney have your heart. What's the worst he's going to do? And you're just like looking around. You're just like, look, I didn't even think about this, I really, really need to think about this, because you do. And we only need to think about it now. This is the only time we've really ever really had to think about this. And it happens to be in the same time when we get to think about our taxes too. What are our taxes going to? What is all this stuff going to? What is all this turning of the cheek really doing to the world? Because I would argue that it's probably one of the worst things we could do right now is to constantly turn the cheek to this shit and just wait for another felon or wait for another Raw or something else like that.
Copy that. I agree with you so much there. I feel like it took me so long to let go of that, because I took it, I think, early on as gospel almost. Well, I mean, it is, right?
Yeah.
But I had to, I think that's one of the reasons, like we get into situations, in trauma bonded situations, where we let ourselves sort of, because we get in this habit of thinking that that's what we're supposed to do. So I absolutely think that that's kind of a surface level reading, just like how you say, watching professional wrestling at 10 hertz,
Yeah.
you only see the spectacle. But that I really think it's just more about the idea of, I obviously not holding on to the hate or getting to a space where the forgiveness, right, where it's not coming from, but also I do think there's very much a righteous sort of holding of space, if you will, maybe.
Yeah.
It's certainly your own, like we're talking about our own body, right? Like that's probably the absolute first thing we have to do is account for our own, not just our body, because our energetic body is several meters outside of it as well.
Yeah, that's right.
All of that.
Yeah, that would be sovereign land too, wouldn't it? The vibration that you occupy. More importantly, how much I notice this when I'm in line. Like, people will just break in front of the line because I just have more space around my body, And I'm just like, why do you need such a little field? Like, why could you not recognize that I occupy 4 feet of energetic space? Why is that too much for you? And I think it's because people are terrified of having that much space. Like, imagine being a raccoon, but you live inside of a giant mansion. Like, it's to go to the bathroom is like a really long way, And then because your memory can't always remember things, you may not be able to remember where you stored the food or whatever else. So, yeah, the space. Even shirts, guys, if you notice the clothes that you think fit you, I want you to catch on real quick. Are these technically too big? Technically too small? Because I think that actually tells you a lot about where your psyche is too, about where your cosmology is and how much you picture yourself, so to speak. We've got some more talk. Everyone's got to focus on the Ashkenazis. So let me just tell you what I know. Jacob Frank actually was way into the idea of epiphysis too. So was oh dude, what's dude's name? Hang on a second. So Jacob Frank, I think, actually came before Sabbatai Zevi. Even though the chat's saying the opposite, I'm pretty sure that actually he came after. And Jacob Frank actually taught Sabbatai Zevi how to tap into adrenaline the same way John the Baptist did. And you have an adrenaline cult, and that adrenaline cult was all over Poland. And I just think it's a mistake to imply that that's the same rock humpers that are at the Temple Mount. That's all. And feel free to call them that. I have no. It doesn't matter except for a just bummer because now we don't get to focus on Egypt or Israel because now we're wandering around chasing red shields and I think that's not getting us anywhere. Maybe you're looking at the bastardized child of that, but Sabbatai Zevi was really much more like Jesus than a lot of us are willing to admit. And because he happened more in a modern time, it was easier to track what he was doing. The dude was focusing on decrepitness because he believed in the great work. He believed that the more decrepit you could turn your congregation, the more that they would find and turn to God because they would see how easily they slipped. This Jacob Frank guy actually encouraged him. He was the one that gave him legitimacy as his pupil and started the idea that maybe this guy knows what he's talking about. As much as like 1 million, maybe 2 million Jews actually converted into this Sabbatean form of worship, which was truly based on decrepitness. But this decrepitness is something that's we see a lot in a lot of different religions. It's not actually specific to one sect, and it's certainly not an invention of the Jews. Most of Christianity is actually based on self-flatulation. The book of Paul, I think, really tamed that kind of Christianity and turned it into a kind of Paulianism. And then, of course, it was like 500 years later or 1,000 years later before you start to see this rising heretical idea that it's about adrenaline. It's not about sanctity. So when you have an abstention cult that's fighting off their sexual desires, it's quite natural that you would end up with an adrenaline cult that's trying to do exactly the opposite. So Sabbateanism was basically, let's have polyamory. To show your devotion to me, I need to have sex with your wife. And if you recognize the story of Sir John Dee, you'll see that Edward Kelly was practicing the same thing. We can say Edward Kelly's a Jew. We can say that it all came from there. But meanwhile, there's still people in Israel humping that fucking rock. There's still people saying these are our sacred bones. This is our sacred place. Meanwhile, we're taking every single bit of evil that we found in the world and we're magically tracing it back to an imaginary connection that's never been there. Only 1 or 2 million people converted to Sabbateanism, and they rejected it a few years later. This wasn't like a massive move or a shift. It was an experiment, kind of like the 50s, kind of like MAGA right now. And yeah, you're going to have revenge cults that get way into Nazism that really just want to spooge and create a church around it. This is really no different than some of our polygamous friends. I'll just say that. Certain religious sects that have built the idea around this sacred hoard. And that these ideas, I think, more come back to adrenaline itself. So you can't really say that these guys are the religion of adrenaline because the religion of adrenaline is really the only religion. It's the only religion that's ever been here. And if you're Constantine, you're not picking a religion because you're looking for salvation. You're picking a religion because you just want to fit in with society. You want everyone to get along. So you're going to have to go, I'd probably watch Sefer. Yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, watch Sefer on that. I think the dude really fucking hates Jews, honestly. The dude is not a rational thinker. And I know that I shouldn't say that because we're supposed to praise that guy, but the guy's full of shit. And when I wrote Technology of Belief, I had thought that I was going to find what he wrote in his book 1666, which honestly is more of a pamphlet. It's not even a book. And when I discovered Sabbateanism, I was like, holy shit, this is a lot more profound than you think. This was an internal mental descent into madness purely for the alchemy of finding God. This is a very different thing than this Ashkenazi idea that we're here to control the world. Sabbateanism was very much a self kind of liberation. And it wasn't the only thing. This thing was super popular in Russia. like really, really big. There was nothing else to do. So you had these people that were crucifying themselves, that were doing things to themselves purely because it kind of made them lit. It made them feel better, you know? It was like, this feels good. When you're living in a world where there's not a lot of things to feel good, when you're living in a world where people are running off a kind of a witness architecture, then you find that the people that are able to kind of break through, that the people that are really able to stab at and sink their teeth into life, ending up rising to the top and becoming popular. It's in the face. It's in the eyes. It's in the Sundance. Ritual abuse is one of the oldest forms of magic in the world. Sabbateanism was a communal response to try and revitalize that. And the only reason why Jacob Frank even backed up Sabbateanism, honestly, was because he was losing his clergy too. He was no longer in favor of being in the church's favor. He felt that if he could announce a prodigy and start the idea that this is the new Messiah, that he would be able to save his career. I don't think Sabbatean was even into even being seen as a Messiah. I think it's why he's like, you fuckers need to pull the roofs off of your house. He convinced thousands of villagers to remove the roof from their house because the rapture was coming. This is not a guy that's trying to build a coalition. It's not someone that's trying to take over the world. This is someone who's descended into their own madness and is just enjoying the ride. So I got a weird, I probably have a weird take on that. And I don't think you guys should necessarily listen to me. But if you're interested in a non-Sefer hates the Jews kind of look at Ashkenazism, you might want to check out Technology of Belief, because I think ultimately you're looking at the soil of Poland. You're looking at a Ukrainian ideal, which is very special. It's very special. I would argue that Chernobyl is not even what we think it is. It is probably some sort of sacred land, and the only way to protect that sacred place is to have a nuclear meltdown, or the idea of a nuclear meltdown, despite how much vegetation is growing there. So I think there's a lot more happening there. I don't think Astana is Jewish. I think that you're looking at some of the oldest magic in the world, which is why Israel's probably being saved for last. I know that's a very cute thing to say. I think maybe a lot of you might even be like, what are you talking about? But if you understood how skewered the world is between pro and anti-Israel, you'd be seeing how someone who's practicing the great work would be utilizing the magic of the Jews and keep that in place the entire time, because it would be the only thing that you could use to keep everyone's mass attention focused on a central place. Don't listen to me. Do your own research. Fight me in the comments. Tell me how wrong I am about Ashkenazis. Please do. Please do. I don't think that I have the right take on it. I think that I have a take that's informed from my own instincts and about how I think human nature works and where it flows and how it grows. Any group that is forced to leave their land is going to become less rebel to survive. They're not going to be able to survive that kind of angst. They're not going to be able to carry that kind of hatred. Do you know why? Because they lost their ka, ladies and gentlemen. They lost where their sacred placenta is buried. And I don't know if you can fully appreciate what it's like to have those patriarchal bones, to own those things. I don't know if you fully appreciate just how much that enables you to take over the world. If you're going to be wandering Jew, it's a beautiful plant, a wandering Jew, and it doesn't have enough teeth to do anything in the world because it's basically a white man. It's just another white man. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you so much, Brad, Renee, True, all the people, Frank, all the people that called in. So great to hear from you guys. Hope you enjoyed the format. Would love to know what you think in the comments and all that other stuff too. Please join Patreon. We had a great dojo last night. You can join for free. You can get the number. You can call in next time. You can keep track of our wonderful community and join it yourself and join the revolution, because we are Turtle Island, baby. We are Turtle Island, and it's time to moo. You know the sacred sound of the turtles moo. Did you know that? Moo, says the turtle. Go out there and get some good energy, guys. Love you much. Thanks for watching.